Okay, so now we typed in this example for the read table, and we get this output here. Now notice that the prompt was originally like this is the standard prompt, but it now changed to this, and this is to indicate that we're in the read table example. So it's like not really a prompt that we can work from. Okay, and this is a comment, and this is a continuation of the same comment probably. So it says using count fields to handle unknown. All right, anyway. So here we're creating, assigning this variable using this. So this should look a little familiar to you. This is the concatenate, or you can also call it the combine operator or function. And we're putting in first the string 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what this generates. And then we're adding 6 and 7, and then we're adding 8, 9, and 10. So I just wanted to show you that you could do it. Of course, you could have just said 1 through 10. You would get the same result. Actually, maybe not. Actually, I'm not sure about that because let's test that for a second. Okay, actually, there's a very slight difference, but an important difference. So if I do it this way, the way they did it, and I assign it to here, and then I did this thing called mode. And we haven't talked about this. I don't know if we talked about this at all yet, but this tells me something about the kind of data that's in here. And it's saying the kind of data is character data. In other words, it's not numbers. Okay, on the other hand, if I do it just like this, then the kind of data is numeric. So this is numeric, but since I combined it with character data, it gets all converted to character data. So the whole thing becomes character data. Whereas here, there's no character data being introduced here, so it doesn't have to convert it to all character data. So it's just the regular numeric data that you would think it is. Okay, so testing the mode of something is an important thing that we will learn to use. And it's good because some things, you expect them to be numbers, and they might be characters, and some things you expect to be characters, and they might be numbers, and that will make a difference in the way that you have to deal with them. Okay, so it's good to check these things. Anyway, going back up to here, so we create test 1, and then they're using, and it's called, and it's in test 1, right line test file data. Okay. They also have something here. Anyway, they're using this function, which is a kind of basically it's the read table function, but it's well, it's a little bit easier to use than the read table, I can say, but it only works if you're using CSV data, comma separated values data, whereas the read table is more general. So finally, when I scroll through this example, I feel like it's not so easy to understand and not so helpful. So I'll just ignore it and go on to explore other parts of the documentation. So the next quiz for you, or the next question for you, is what other kinds of documentation can we view on this read table function? So we just we looked at examples. What other commands can we issue so that we can look up other kinds of documentation? We've talked about it, so do you remember? Try it, see if you can remember it. Pause the video, see if you got it right. Of course, you might not get the same, you might have a different idea than I'm going to do, but see if you get something, and then come back. Okay, did you get something? Okay, so what I was thinking of is using question mark read table like this, or help read table. I believe you need the quotation around it in this case. So when you do that, you should get this page. So let's see what this says. First of all, there's a description. Reads a file in table format. So the file should be in table format, and creates what we call a data frame. Now, we've talked about vectors, and then there are what are called matrices and arrays, but let's just say matrices. And then there are things called lists, and then there are these so-called data frames. And I think I said that data frame is the closest thing to like a spreadsheet of data. And it's probably the type of data formatting that we'll use most of the time. So it's very much like an Excel spreadsheet. So it has columns and rows, and the columns will be the variables, and the rows will be the what we call the records or the data. Okay, so so it creates a data frame from it with cases. That's also the cases means the rows or the records corresponding to the lines, and the variables to the fields in the file. So the variables means the columns. Okay, usage. Okay, now we look at this and our heads blow up, right? This looks really, really scary. Now, these are all the arguments, or we could say the options, for this function, or let's just say the arguments. So there's the first option, or the first argument rather, is file. The second argument is header. The third argument is this one, which means the separator. And then it goes on and on and on. So this will make, really look scary. But you can think of it as looking really scary, and that's certainly one way to look at it. But you can also look at it and say, oh, look at all the control I have over the way this is going to work, because you can set each of these variables so that it does different things. Okay, each of these arguments, each of these arguments so that it does different things. Okay, now the first argument is just the file, or the name of the file. So I called my file up here, simple data space.txt. So that's what you're going to need in there, but you're going to need to put the full, where is it? You're going to need to put the full path in there. So not just the file, but the full path to the file, and it has to be in quotations. So like mine would be up here. Now, on the other hand, if you are in the if you're in this if this is your working directory, then actually you don't have to put the full path. Then you can just put the name. I think you could still put the full path, I believe, but or I think so, but you don't need to. You just need to put this name, including the .txt, but it does have to be in quotations. Okay, now there's some more stuff here, and that is here's the read CSV, and basically this is just this one, but where we set probably the separator. Oh, sorry, I didn't talk about this one. This is the separator, and if you leave nothing in here, if you don't specify the separator, then it assumes that the separator is white space, and that could be white space, that could be spaces, or it can be tabs, or basically those two, I think. Okay, so read CSV is when you specify in here that it's a comma. So that's one of the differences between reads. But basically, it's just this one with this set to comma, but you don't have to set it to comma, I believe. Okay, now one more thing, and that is, so what you see here, this is header equals false. So okay, so what does that mean, first of all? That means we're talking about whether there's a header. There are headers in the data. Now, what about our data? Does our data have headers? No. it doesn't. Now I could put headers in there, like I could call this the last name and the first name, and this is actually the year born and the year died. So I could put those up at the top, but currently it doesn't have that. So and that's what it assumes, that there are no headers. If you don't put in this argument into when we type it into R down here, we're going to type something like this. So I'm going to do something like this. Now notice I didn't say anything about header, right? I could have written something like this, for example. Now notice that, by the way, you have to capitalize these. When you're writing true and false, these are called Booleans. You have to capitalize them. Anyway, but I could have done something like this, but I don't have headers in here, so that isn't what I'd want to do. But I also could have done this. But I don't need to. I can just leave that out, because we say the default value is header equals false. So that's what this is telling me, that the default value is that. I can specify it as true if I want to, but I don't need to. I don't have to specify that the default value for separators is empty space, because that's basically what this says, actually. And then, there's a lot of other stuff here that we don't really understand yet, but these are all options or arguments. So let's see if what I wrote works. That is, let's see this. Okay, so I did it here, and actually it didn't quite work. I got a warning message. I believe it actually, there's a difference between an error and a warning message, actually. So getting a warning message doesn't mean you got an error. But I did get a warning message. You can see it written in blue here. And it says warning message, in read.table, incomplete final line in here. Now, do you remember what I did before? It looked like this, and I said, oh, that's wrong, and I did that. Actually, it wasn't wrong. It should be like this. So if I leave it like this and then save it again and then run it, then it works fine. So I did it that way. Let's do it again, just show you. So now if I do it again, it works fine. Okay? So that's what I'm saying. There are all these possible errors that you can get. Now, to see that this actually read it in, you can type DFRM, which, by the way, stands for data frame. But that's just the name of the variable. It doesn't matter what you call it. And type it like that, and we get this. So this is the output. Now let's explore this in the next video.